peeps, here is the last of the 4 usual week reviews here on week 110.
Yeah, this is our first week ending with the midweek wrap-up.
Yeah. SmackDown is no longer the last video in our normal 4 reviews that we do every week. Now it's the midweek wrap-up. Starting with a person-packed main event.
You know, this is the second week in a row where they're just like, how many people can we get on main event?
Yeah, last week they had 18 wrestlers in total on main event. This week they had 21, if you consider the fact that Connor was there in Victor's corner.
Yeah. So we started with a 6-man tag team match where the Golden Truth teamed with Apollo Crews to take on Baron Corbin and the Dudley Boys.
Baron Corbin and the Dudley Boys were not a cohesive unit.
Baron Corbin was not a cohesive partner.
And that basically was the whole match. Was
Bubba and Devon yelling at Baron Corbin to tag him.
At first, he wouldn't participate.
Yeah.
And then once he was in, he was refusing to work together.
Yeah, he wouldn't tag out.
He wanted either nothing to do with it or all the glory for himself.
Yeah.
He wasn't going to have a middle ground.
Which ultimately, after a little bit of a breakdown, Bubba's just yelling at him. Devon's in the ring going, get the tag, and Apollo Crews just is able to sneak up behind Devon, hit him with an angle slam.
Yeah, because Corbin just decides to take off.
Yeah, hits him with the angle slam, and Golden Truth and Apollo Crews pick up the win. All because Baron Corbin didn't want to play fair. Or
nice.
At all.
Play nice.
Then we had our only singles match of the night, which was Kalisto taking on Victor of the Ascension. We thought there was a chance that Victor might actually pull a win out here because Kalisto being by himself, now that him and Sin Cara have gone separate ways, he didn't have Sin Cara in his corner, and so he decides to dive to the outside and take out Connor. And that's
this is after the second time Connor has gotten up on the apron to distract Kalisto.
Connor was doing a very good job of trying to get the momentum in favor of Victor.
Yeah,
he's doing a very good job. But then he ends up getting taken out, and then we're like, okay, wait a second. This is usually one of those things you're like, okay, now this is how this person wins. Like,
yeah, Victor was on the outside, and he actually avoided Kalisto's dive.
Yeah.
And
Connor took the whole thing.
And throws him back in the ring to potentially set up a win.
Yeah.
But not.
No. Victor would go and set up for a powerbomb, but then out of the powerbomb, we'd get a beautiful rotation into a Frankensteiner pinning combination, and Kalisto picks up the win.
Yeah. So good on Kalisto. And not a bad showing. Victor is maybe showing that the Ascension have something to actually add to the SmackDown now that the brand split has happened.
Yeah. This next match, I feel, is the Titus O'Neil of tag team matches because it was completely unnecessary. We had Jack Swagger and Mark Henry defeat Breezango.
Basically, Breezango struggled facing Jack Swagger in the opening portion of the match.
And Mark Henry has another 100 pounds on Jack Swagger.
Yeah, and so they did get the advantage for a short minute until Jack Swagger tagged Mark Henry, who proceeded to wrestle as if he were made out of a bag of rocks.
Yes.
Which is, I'm pretty sure, what half of Mark Henry is actually made of.
Yeah. Jack Swagger would get Tyler Breeze in a Patriot lock on the outside, and Fandango would do that one thing you don't do to a big guy. He'd go for a crossbody.
Specifically Mark Henry.
Yes. And then get hit with the World's Strongest Slam, and the tag team that is just kind of there picks up a win.
Yeah, I mean, crossbodies on big guys is frowned upon in general. But
it never works.
Mark Henry's finishing move is from the crossbody position.
He caught him. Okay, thanks for the free move. Blah, done.
Basically, Fandango's just helping himself to Mark Henry's finisher.
And then speaking of unnecessary, Titus O'Neil was in the following match, the 8-man tag team match, where
Ziggler and
the Usos.
The Usos go against the Shining Stars, Alberto Del Rio and Sheamus.
Yes,
a new League of Nations, perhaps.
Yeah, this was...
Or a little Hispanic faction plus Sheamus.
This was... I don't know what to say about this match.
I feel like, for me, if you were to remove Sheamus and Titus O'Neil, this would be a great 6-man tag.
For me, I take out Del Rio and Titus O'Neil, and it would probably be even better. The Ziggler and the Usos, very fast pace, flying around, super kicks, cool, and then you get Del Rio and the Shining Stars as a Latin trio.
Yeah, they seem like a good unit.
Yeah,
they'd be a good trio to bring together because they both have that air. As the team of the Shining Stars, they have that. Ooh, well, we're from Puerto Rico. We're better than you. And Del Rio's just always had the I'm Mexican aristocracy, so I'm better than you.
Yeah. It was a thing.
I liked it, with the exception of Titus O'Neil and Sheamus. And Sheamus wasn't even that bad in this one.
Sheamus actually picked up the win.
Yeah, he brogue kicked somebody.
Jimmy. After Jay decided to dive out and take out the Shining Stars, and then Jimmy got back. Jimmy was in the ring and he ate a brogue kick from.
He was like running in one direction, and Del Rio actually snuck punched him from one side of the ring.
He snucker punched him.
Snucker punched him. That's when you sneak up on somebody and punch them when they can't see you. Snucker punched.
But
that's sneaky like.
That's it for main event. Let's move on to NXT.
Which this is the one that they were promoting last week as 3 huge matches, because we know we've got Bayley versus Nia Jax. We've got American Alpha trying to potentially have a match with the Authors of Pain, and we have Rhyno, who postured himself up to Joe last week.
Which is what we opened up with. We opened up with Rhyno versus Samoa Joe. Neither of these guys really wanting to give any bit of leeway to the other.
Not at all.
This was a powerhouse match, as anyone would expect, and it was who could hit the other one the hardest, who could put the other one down fastest,
and who could get the sweatiest.
Well,
both of these guys are heavy sweaters.
They're both big wolves,
but they're not Big E.
No, because he's the heaviest sweater. Samoa Joe did end up picking up the win after Rhyno went for a gore in the corner, which was caught into an ST Joe, and then Joe would lock in the Coquita clutch and make Rhyno tap out.
Yeah, and it's one of those matches where, on paper, you might think, this could be potentially a boring match. This could be kind of, they're similar sized. They're just both rough and tumble kind of guys, whatever. But they have history together because they both worked at TNA at the same time.
And I think they ran a program against each other.
Yeah. So they have chemistry. They've worked together, so they know how the other one works. So it ended up turning out to be a good match with 2 of the veterans on NXT.
Yeah.
2 guys who have wrestled a lot longer than most of the NXT roster.
Yeah. And then up next we had Asuka talking to the girl that I don't like. She was asking Asuka who she would rather face out of the main event, that being Bayley and Nia Jax. And she says, well, I'll fight Bayley, I'll fight Nia Jax, I'll fight both.
Yeah, and then basically, she called it out as in, I've beaten them both now, so maybe if I wrestle them at the same time, that'll be a challenge.
There you go.
Also, the interviewer looked like she was scared of Asuka.
As most women are. As most people are. She's scared of horrible. Then we had the match between the Authors of Pain and American Alpha, which almost didn't happen.
Yeah, Authors of Pain jumped American Alpha prior to the match, shoving Jason Jordan off the stage.
Yeah, into the railing on the outside.
And then Chad Gable ends up getting kind of destroyed in the middle of the rampway.
Yeah, he gets gets like a kitchen sink knee, and then just slammed back on the ramp.
And then we get, for the first time, Paul Ellering almost looks like he's going to cut a promo.
Yeah, he gets into the ring. He's got both of the Authors of Pain in there, and it's more so like
I think he has even grabbed a mic.
He might have had a microphone, but the referees are scrambling, making sure that American Alpha's okay, and so then American Alpha's standing up on the stage, and they're just like, no, we're not walking away from this.
Yeah, you don't push us around that many times and get away with it.
Yeah. So American Alpha just storms back down to the ring. It turns into a brawl at this point, and it was an uphill battle the whole time for American Alpha, but they did not give a damn. what the odds were against them.
Yeah, as you would assume, they got to jump before the match, so the whole beginning of the match is all the authors of pain.
Yeah.
Just squashing American Alpha, picking out Jason Jordan because he's the smaller, Chad Gable because he's the smaller of the two. Doing well to just smash him into pieces.
Yeah.
Eventually Jason Jordan gets a hot tag though. And
suplexes for days.
Goes to town on him. Gable gets back in and even delivers a huge T-bone suplex of his own to one of them.
Yeah.
We can't tell you which one because we don't know their names.
I think it was the not tattooed.
The not tattooed one.
That's the only differential is one of them has a tattoo, the other one doesn't.
And then they set up for a new move. They had been using the Russian leg sweep clothesline combo.
Yeah.
Where they pick up Chad Gable in a sidewalk slam and the other guy starts running off the ropes. But Jason Jordan's able to trip him and start pulling him out of the ring. They all end up on the outside. It was one point. But the big mistake is that Chad Gable tried to go for a drop kick under the bottom rope, which gets caught in a powerbomb position, and he gets spun around 360 into the LED board.
Yes.
And then Jason Jordan gets all pissy.
He goes for one of his big old shoulder tackles.
And they just move out of the way, and he goes directly headfirst into the steps.
He eats the fucking stairs.
And then that just makes it easy pickings for them to toss Chad Gable back in the ring, hit the Russian leg sweep clothesline combo, and pick up a big win over former NXT champions.
And now SmackDown draftees.
Yeah. So that's a big way for their second match on the NXT roster.
Yeah. Their first one being very squashy, and this one
being over what's the most popular tag team on the brand.
Absolutely. We had Gargano and Ciampa interrupt an interview with the Revival. Revival talking about how they've beaten every tag team. There's no tag team that can beat them on the NXT roster.
But Gargano and Ciampa did not long before Revival's second run as tag champions.
Yeah. And so, he reminds them that, William Regal did in fact say that they have a title match coming up very soon. And, Johnny Gargano would let them know that time is a ticking away. Then we had...
Tough Enough alumni?
Before that...
Oh, before this.
Before that, we found out that in 2 weeks, Hideo Itami returns to NXT TV.
Yeah.
Excited to see the return of Hideo. His first run cut very short, unfortunately. So I'm excited to see him back. It'd be nice to see him on TV, especially now with all these people having moved up to the main roster. He's going to have a very prominent spot.
Yeah.
Which is going to be good. But then, we had Tough Enough alumni Patrick Clark in the ring. He'd be taking on...
I'm going to say he's all-American Patrick Clark.
Yeah, he's got these American flag, bald eagle tights. He had an American flag wrapped around him.
Like an American flag, almost like a robe.
Yeah.
American flag robe.
But he'd be taking on the greatest man that ever lived, Austin Aries.
And Austin Aries apparently wasn't a fan of Tough Enough.
No, Austin Aries would teach him a few things. He taught us a thing. I've never seen Austin Aries do what he used to finish the match.
He taught him how to take a knee breaker into a back-flipping suplex into the Last Chancery.
Yeah.
He made quick work of Patrick.
It wasn't long at all. I think Patrick maybe had one little bit of offensive maneuver. And then
drop kick.
Yeah. He's got a nice drop kick.
Babyfaces throw drop kicks.
But Austin Aries doesn't give a shit about your drop kicks. So he made Patrick Clark tap out very quickly. But then Austin Aries would get a taste of his own medicine as No Way Jose would come out for some revenge for the attack just a few weeks ago. And he is not as happy as he usually is.
No way, man.
And No Way Jose, he beat the shit out of Austin Aries.
Yeah, and he ran Austin Aries out of the arena. Austin Aries had to go through the crowd to escape while the referees were finally able to hold No Way Jose as he was trying to get over the guardrail.
Yeah. So, I'm very interested to see what these two end up doing when they finally have a one-on-one confrontation. But speaking of confrontations, we have the final confrontation between Bayley and Nia Jax.
Yeah, it's the tiebreaker.
Yep. Yeah, they are 1-1 currently. This is them deciding who is next in line to get a shot at the women's championship. Who is the better of the two, and this was their best match.
Absolutely.
Their matches have only gotten better. and it was very fun to see, especially now that we know that Nia Jax is going to Raw. This was a good test to see where she would be, what she would be able to use walking into a much more her size-ish roster.
Yeah, a much more evenly matched roster to Nia Jax because, girls like Alicia Fox and Charlotte and Tamina and Natalya are all bigger women than an Alexa Bliss or
Carmella.
Or Liv Morgan.
Yeah.
So she's been used to fighting these small, very petite women.
Hell, Deonna Purrazzo.
Yeah, and so it's going to be a good pace. And, Bayley is the flag bearer of the NXT Women's Division.
Yeah.
And is potentially, the most talented female on their roster. So it's good to see a lot more wrestling out of Nia Jax than previously. Bayley was trying to use that, use the wrestling and the counters to keep Nia's power at bay.
Yeah, no, she was using, it was more than the big girl versus the small girl. It was very much more competitive. They both had to really work to get the advantage on the other. Yeah. Granted, eventually when Nia does have the advantage, she does have her power that she's able to use, which is something Bayley can't. But Bayley has, she's been in this match twice before. She knows what to expect, and she's kind of taken that in stride.
Yeah, that's kind of what I really liked about this match is that they have wrestled each other twice. So both of them were playing different games this go around. As in, oh hey, we need to change up what we're doing because obviously Bayley has her ways around just the brute force version of Nia Jax, whereas then Nia was able to figure out ways to cut off Bayley and, take away the resiliency and the big match finishing ability.
Yeah.
So they had, they each had to bring a new element in, and so Nia was doing a little more wrestling and doing, maybe moving a little quicker, and Bayley was being a little more aggressive, and even at one point, a lot more aggressive. Even at a few points, kind of bending the rules, which is unusual for Bayley. She had Nia woven through the ropes at one point and was constantly attacking her, which is something you don't normally see Bayley do. She's taking a 5 count to its full advantage.
Yeah. Well, and she realizes that she needs that, and then Nia hitting a jackhammer, which was awesome. Wow. That needs to be something she needs to do on a regular basis because that is a fantastic move for her to do. That was one of those really good near falls where you thought Nia really had it cinched, and there was a lot for both of them. Both of them had some really good near falls in this match, and then it just came down to Bayley's resiliency is kind of what solidified this match because both of them had to save themselves from being counted out, and then we get to a point where Nia is using her power. I think it's right after she hits the jackhammer, she goes to set up for her usual running leg drop, kind of stops and says, "No, I'm gonna do it like this," and then she goes up to the second rope, and you're like, if this hits, it's fucking done. There's no way Bayley's getting up from this, but Bayley, powers herself back up. She's able to jump up to the second rope, hit the belly to Bayley from the second rope, and picks up the win, winning 2-1 over Nia Jax.
Yeah, so Nia's going up to the main roster with her best performance behind her.
Yeah.
The best performance being, the one that's going to be the freshest in our minds.
Yeah. A couple things that we thought about, considering Nia and American Alpha are both moving up, potentially, maybe we are going to see that triple threat women's match that Asuka said. So maybe that'll be Nia's last match.
There's a good chance that, I think both Nia Jax and American Alpha will be performing at the upcoming TakeOver.
Yeah. So, TakeOver Brooklyn 2, we'll probably see the last NXT matches of both Nia Jax and American Alpha. American Alpha more than likely going to be getting that shot at Authors of Pain just for a little bit, one last chance to really drive it home that they're not going to give up in the face of these two big brutes.
That's going to be it for the midweek wrap-up. At this point, we had Ultima Lucha Dos Part 3.
2 hours long.
2 hours long, lots to talk about. So we're going to cut it here and take you over to that one next. It's going to get its own video.
Yes.
Specialness of Lucha Flippy Doos.
Yes.
So don't forget to like and comment and subscribe.
Click all the links. You get updates to videos. You get updates to podcasts, all of our usual reviews. So if you want to check out our Ultima Lucha, it's possibly going to be just a video this week. So if you want to know what happened, Ultima Lucha Dos Night 3, you'll need to check out that playlist, because that's the only way you're going to find out. For those of you that are checking out the videos, there's plenty of videos up there, including our second edition of the Cruiserweight Classic and all of our usual reviews. And then coming up at the end of the week, we will have our Battleground predictions.
Yeah, so thanks for checking it out. We'll see you next week with all our other regular reviews and the Battleground review. No
Lucha Underground next week.
Yeah,
weird. Weird. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you at whatever video you decide to watch next.
Fuck unnecessary.